Welcome to New Life Live, the premier place to receive free advice from Christian psychologists and counselors for the mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual challenges you face. Since 1988, we've offered compassionate responses that combine God's truth with proven psychological principles to guide you toward healing. Our phone lines are open. Call us now at 1-800-229-3000.
Welcome to New Life Live. We are so glad that you're with us today. It's Chris Williams, licensed marriage and family therapist. I also have licensed professional counselor and president of New Life, Becky Brown. How you doing, Becky?
I'm doing well, Chris. Good to see you.
Great to see you. And I have licensed psychologist and author and speaker, Dr. Alice Benton.
Hello. How you doing?
How you doing, Alice?
Doing well this morning.
Good. Hey, tell us what's on your mind today.
Well, I had the pleasure of meeting a dedicated recovery leader, particularly an AA group leader, and meeting people who are so faithful to recovery. For me, it's meeting some of the most salt of the earth, humble people who are so willing to give of their time to serve others. And he taught me something, and he reminded me of an angle of recovery that I hadn't heard before in quite this way. He was 6 years sober from alcohol use. And he said that when he was first getting clean, when he would talk with his sponsor, and he would be in a state of anxiety, depression, or temptation to drink, his sponsor would check with him on three things. What kind of comfort do you need? Are you hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? And are you too stuck in self? I want you to get out and serve. And by serving other people, it takes us out of the headspace of anxiety and depression, which can be so self-focused. So he would go to the Costco parking lot and find somebody who would let him help get the groceries in the car. And he said it worked every time to get him out of a mood or to get him out of a relapse mode. And of course, we were made to serve. We were designed by God to serve God and to serve other people. But anxiety and depression keep us so self-centered. And then we wallow in the pain and the discomfort of it. And so both knowing what we need and from whom we can get comfort and where to serve, all of these things help us to get regulated and help us to stay clean and sober from whatever our addictive or sinful behavior is. It was a great reminder.
It is such a great reminder because we all have needs. And when our needs are depleted, it's hard to get out of ourselves. Our internal alarm systems go off. So the acronym HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, I usually put an S on the end of that for stressed. So hungry, angry, lonely, tired, stressed. Then he asked, what do you need there? And then as you need that, let's also get out of your own head. Let's serve another person. I think that's absolutely brilliant.
I love that first question too. What type of comfort? Like sometimes we're in our heads, we're in the feeling, and we can't even name the feeling. And we talk about this all the time, is that if you can just sit for a minute and say, what am I feeling? I'm feeling anxious. Okay, well, where's that hitting you? What are you thinking about? And then what can I do? And, Alice, when you talk about serving, that moving our bodies also helps with the brain chemistry. And so if you're out in a Costco parking lot loading those big boxes, it's going to get your body moving too. It's going to help.
There's some research that shows that having plants you have to take care of or having a pet you have to take care of, it actually prolongs life and it prolongs a happier life. Because even if you can't get out to serve other people easily, maybe you have some physical constraints, but taking care of another creature, a life form, it's part of what we're designed to do.
These recovery groups are so powerful because they do what, as you mentioned, Alice, what God designed us to do, connect well with other people and serve well with other people. Listen, you need to check out a life recovery group. And when I say you, I mean all of us. I also want to challenge, if there's not one in your area, you need to start one. And by you, I mean all of us. And so let's not let the life that God has in front of us be an excuse not to lean into it. Check out our resources. Go to newlife.com. We have it all there.
Restore gave me strength. It gave me more belief in my faith. I met up with a group of women that are going through things that they had no control over.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, Restore Intensive will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
When two people want to do their part, we can be restored. But if they don't, we can still be restored. We are not stuck because someone else made a decision. That God lets us weigh in on how we want to walk out our lives. Our wellness does not hinge on another person's decision.
The Restore Intensive is coming to Washington, D.C. November 1st through the 3rd. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
I had a great experience at Restore.
1-800-NEWLIFE and the discount code NLL. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. We are so glad that you are with us today. And we are also glad that Kelly in Grand Rapids, Michigan is listening to and watching and joining us today. She is a YouTube viewer, and we love our YouTube viewers. So Kelly, tell us what's going on and how we can help you.
Thank you. I'm so thankful for your guys' ministry. Listen to you a lot. So my question is, we have 5 children. I homeschool. I'm a stay-at-home mom. And my oldest, who is 19, my daughter, had just recently got married. And she's a little stubborn. I'm a little stubborn. There's been times where I've definitely lost my temper, especially because my kids are with me 24/7. I have to pray for patience and God to help me through it all. But we do good, and it's fine. But just recently, she's come to me and said that she refuses to come home and talk to us at all until I'm willing to change. And her meaning of change is that I don't lose my temper and I don't yell. And I asked her, I said, when's the last time I've yelled at you? Because I mean, Dad and I, everyone has their own form of disciplining, but there's certain things that we stop at a certain age, and then, like, when they get older, we'll take privileges away, whether that be your phone or whatever. And I'm like, when's the last time I've yelled at you, though, really? I found out through somebody else that she is, I think, seeing a counselor that is encouraging her to distance herself from myself and my husband. And I just kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on that. And I've been doing a lot of research, and okay, well, I guess that's her right. But also, I just think it's very wrong. Like, I think I'm so willing to talk to her and sit down with her. She refuses, though. And she said, nope, not until you change, and then I'll give you a second chance.
Kelly,
and I'm just I don't know what to do.
Thank you for the courage and humility to call and reveal all of this. I'm going to gently challenge you, because your initial response to your daughter was defensiveness. Now, it's a legitimate question. When was the last time that I yelled? But it feels to her, I think, like you putting up a wall and trying to point out how much better you are now, which is probably true, versus finding out how frightening, how uncomfortable, upsetting your anger has been to her historically. Can you receive that from me, that it was unintentionally a defensive response from you?
Absolutely. And what's interesting is I just recently sent her a text message after doing research to, like, kind of psychology in a way. Like, I said, I'm so sorry that I hurt you. And that was not my intention whatsoever from the start of being a mom. Like, it was never my intention to lose my temper here and there. It was never my intention to yell. It just kind of happened. My stepdad was an alcoholic. That's kind of how we communicated. We yelled at each other. And over the years, you see that and you kind of get that kind of communication. And I'm not giving myself any excuses. It's very wrong. I totally understand that. But I do receive that and I do understand. And so I did reach out to her, and, like, I don't want her to think that I'm defending myself and making it like it's okay. So that was the last message I did send her, and she didn't respond to it, but I wanted her to know I'm so sorry that I hurt you.
Kelly,
I'm so sorry.
That was a good move to reach out with that next text. I'm going to push you again. There's still some defensiveness in saying, but it wasn't my intention, but I didn't mean to hurt you, even though that's also true. So what I want you to do is take it a step deeper. Tell me about what it has been like to have me as a mom, And what did you think? What did you feel when I got angry? I know I did it a lot. Maybe even Kelly pointing out some instances, because by being willing to hear her experience, you then show a new level of trustworthiness that she needs to see from you. And she may be off base and not wanting to come home. Maybe her counselor is leading her astray somewhat. But what we know is if you get curious and you become a listener without any further explanation of why you did what you did, it shows a new level of safety to your daughter.
And
now,
Kelly, let me jump in on this one. Is as a mom of, when you've launched your child, the last thing you're expecting is for them to cut you out. And we hear this all the time. There's lots of different reasons that people do this. And some are legitimate, some are not. And whatever it is, it's heartbreaking. And I can hear the heartbreak that you're experiencing with this. And what I would suggest is along the same lines as what Alice is saying, but I would want you to get your own support because that defensiveness is coming up because you're not being seen or heard either. And as moms, we always say, if it's not one thing, it's your mother. And God love you doing homeschool with 5 kids. It's a lot. And so I'm thinking of what kind of support you need so that when she's ready to talk, you are not in a reactive state, but you can respond from a place where you know who you are, what your intentions are. I'm measuring my words only because I know in the listening audience there have been lots of people who have been wounded by mom, and for lots of different reasons. And I'm not saying that this is what your daughter's, that she, but this is how she's experiencing it. So to Alice's point, you got to get to a place where you're just like, tell me more. But you're not going to be able to do that on your own. You're going to have support because it is a lot as a mom to be able to hear what their perspective was from a different, like a child's perspective. And, I know it's very complex, but I just want to encourage you to have the support that you need, not just to fix this issue, but for you to feel like, you've got younger ones at home. You don't want to get back to the yelling and, that kind of behavior, no matter what the issue is. So it's just kind of a twofold thing.
Kelly, you're probably working in a state of deficit too, because to dedicate yourself like this, you have given your life for your children, as you said, every day, every night, to bring them up well and right. And I doubt you've gotten very many statements of deep appreciation from the kids in general, and probably not from the 19-year-old. So if she's not able to balance out both all the good you bring to the table with this problem, the anger, then it's so much harder to receive the critique she has because it's not balanced.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Callie, to that point, I just see, I really see it in my own home with my wife, and she has 3 males in her house that don't show the appreciation that they need to show to the endless work that she does. And again, homeschooling is a big task, as you mentioned, Alice. It's an enormous task. And here's the truth. People living in close proximity for any period of time will cause damage. Take it to the bank. That's life on planet Earth. Mm-hmm. And so ruptures we can expect. And the key is being people of repair. But a lot of times, if you grew up in a home with an alcoholic, I can pretty much bet that you never saw healthy repair. You may have seen people, I apologize, or get over it, or put it back on the other person. But to your point, Alice, is that healthy repair is tell me more about what I did. But to be in that place where we can receive that, to both you and Becky's point, we can't be in great depletion, because that defensive. Because, Callie, we know you never intended to hurt your children, never intended to cause them any sort of distress or harm or anything like that. But that's just life,
we were talking about don't get too hungry, angry, lonely, tired, or stressed, but that's like the definition of motherhood, especially stay-at-home, homeschooling motherhood. So we know that you're depleted, and we want to help you get filled back up again so that you have the energy and the wherewithal both to keep loving on your kids well and then to face these tough conversations with your daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, Callie, what does that sound like to you? Do you feel like we heard you?
Yes, yes, and there's other things that have been going on. I've developed agoraphobia, and I've been home for 2 years. So there's a lot more going on. It developed from anxiety, started after COVID. I don't know if I can say it out loud. So it just it's a lot of things. I have insomnia. I'm working with doctors. We just can't figure it out, and so there's just a lot more going on, and I am depleted. I'm very depleted.
You know, Callie, what you just said, here's the interesting thing. You've had all of this going on, and the lead question was to nurture that relationship with your daughter, which seems right, but that's such a mom thing to do. It's like, it is, isn't it, Alice? Yeah. It's like, don't worry about me. I can't sleep. I can't get out of the house, but I'm going to go to the 19-year-old to get accepted by her again. And Callie, I don't know, are you doing counseling? Are you with a therapist now?
I've been trying to find one, but I'm just really struggling. And because, there's so many out there, and then they claim to be a Christian, but
and Callie, I'm going to lean on something here because I can hear it in your voice. You are carrying a lot of historical pain, otherwise known as trauma. And because your life is driven by fear, and that puts you at the gate's edge of anger all the time. It's a way to offload. Anger is one way one primary way that we offload fear. And so being able to take a deeper dive into that fear, and even the fear is saying to you, you have to find the exact right, perfect therapist. I'm like, that doesn't exist. I can say as a therapist, that's not a thing. It's a therapist who you feel connected and safe with, who can understand you well and help navigate you through the pain and the fears that you're carrying on the inside.
And we can help you with that journey. That's going back to, just let's do one step at a time. I also think it could be very helpful for you, Callie, to be part of a life recovery group. We have them that are online that you can connect with, but with your history of, alcoholism in the family, there are a lot of behaviors and experiences that you're doing on autopilot because of that experience. And, recovery can be such a powerful way to get some clarity. And now we're just telling you all the different things that you have to do now, which can be overwhelming as well. But we'll help you with this, Callie. We won't let you off on the phone and just say, hey, go figure it out and call us back. We'll get you some connections there.
Absolutely. Callie, thank you so much for calling in today. We are going to send you a copy of Take Your Life Back, and believe that will be a real helpful resource in your journey of healing, health, and knowing that I do believe in the long run, your daughter wants to connect with you. The best way to help facilitate that is getting in a better place for yourself. In all of the things that impact women, there are fewer things that I have seen that impact them more than betrayal trauma. I mean, it seems like there's not a synapse in the brain, there is not a cell in the body that isn't negatively impacted by the incredible, painful experience of infidelity, cheating, and betrayal in marriage. And that is exactly why we have the Restore Intensive. This is a place for women to begin healing from painful betrayal. It's led by two amazing women who have not just done the work as therapists and as guides, but who also as people have been there, done that, who've gone through the experience themselves. Restored Workshop will be November 1st in Washington, D.C. And Becky, what else do you have to encourage women to sign up for the Restored Workshop?
So many times when women have experienced betrayal, they keep thinking that it's not my problem. He did this to me. But the reality is you've been hit by a tractor trailer and you're basically on the sidelines, thinking, I just am going to get better. And what we want you to see is that you need to do your own healing work. It's not to make the marriage all right again. It's really to do the beginning stages of recovery.
Yes.
And when you see this room full of women who are taking the chance to make that connection, you're going to be encouraged. You're going to feel seen and heard. And you're going to be like, you get me. You understand what I've been going through. And so many women carry the shame of their husbands and their partners' choices, whether they are currently in that relationship or maybe they've been divorced, but you're still carrying that pain. Restore will give you the opportunity to learn how this has impacted you. It'll give you steps towards healing, and it will, more than anything, give you that community of people who see you and the valuable person that you are. I want to see you in November in Washington, D.C. It is going to be the best way for you to begin your new life.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for over 34 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family, or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step towards genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow. Call 1-800-639-5433.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. We are so glad that you're with us today, and we are glad that Joy is with us today in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She is listening on WFIL. Joy, thank you for joining the program today. Tell us what's going on, how we can help you.
Thank you for taking my call. Can you hear me?
We can hear you well.
Okay. So my husband and I have our 19-year-old grandson staying with us, and we're just trying to get him motivated. He does work, thank God. He works at a sort of part-time, sometimes a little longer job, and the rest of the day he basically sleeps and plays video games, which I know is typical for those ages. So, but we're just trying to see what to do. My husband will invite him to do things with him, but he always has an excuse, not to do it. And, so we just wanted if you have some advice on maybe some tips.
Joy, how did your grandson come to live with you?
I don't think we have time on this show for that, but to make it real short, he has had some trauma during his life, and after high school, he shortly after he came to be with us, Mom relocated, and so he's with us.
Joy, how old did you say he was?
He's 19.
Okay, and otherwise, he's doing fine, working. He's not on drugs. He's not in trouble with the law. Those kind of things are all good, right?
Is smoking marijuana? Yes.
Okay. Well, that's good information, which could lead to the. But I mean, it could lead to the antisocial behavior, just playing games on end, not wanting to do something with you. Right. Does he smoke it in the house, Joy? Is that part of?
No, we just smell it, and he's confessed to us that he has been. Yes.
Okay. How do you feel about that?
Well, we don't like it because we know what it does to the brain. We've done studies. We've shown him studies. So we are concerned about that, but we don't bring it up or say anything much except we've given him information so he knows what it does. And,
So here's the thing, though. This is a great area. Like, you're wanting to connect with him, but the reality is he's not taking the suggestion. And, there's a lot of employers, even though I know marijuana use is becoming more legalized across the country, and I know it's getting a little bit tricky that way, but if it's not something that you approve of and you smell it on him, it's your house. You can actually say, all right, we're not going to have any of that. Like, it's not okay for you to smoke it and then come home like that. It's just, you can put a boundary up. If you're wanting him to have that, a successful life in front of him, and this is not something that you see as part of a successful life, this is a great way to set a boundary in place. And I know that doesn't sound like a connection, but him smoking and you not liking it and you giving him the information about it, but him not making any changes, is keeping that distance continual.
And Joy, pairing a resetting of the standards of the household along with the professional help he needs because of the immense losses he has gone through, but without even knowing the details of his parents' story, he's been set up to find a way to cope with a whole lot of internal distress he's dealing with. Now, we know this is not the right way, it's not the best way to cope, but it sure is an effective way to cope. So smoking pot and losing himself in a video game, it's a way of soothing that his parents perhaps abandoned him. Maybe they struggled with substance use too. And so when there is such a setup for a child, giving a lot of understanding that he needs help to figure out how to deal with what he has gone through because of his parents' problems, struggles, their decisions that they have made. We need to help him find the better replacement for this method of self-soothing. What kind of professional help has he gotten?
He was having therapy, and he stopped going, or he wasn't showing up, and so the therapist dropped him because he wasn't cooperating by showing up.
Yeah.
So my husband and I did talk recently that we need to revisit that with him now that he's with us, to try to get him into, to see a therapist. When we did speak to him once when he came, but he wasn't willing. But we were thinking, and we weren't sure, and I'm glad you said what you said, because as far as the boundaries, because of his age, we weren't sure what we could demand, such as, we know the smoking pot, we could demand, you can't smoke here, you can't smoke around here, and we don't want you smelling like that when you come in the house. So he no longer smells like it, but we know he's still he told us he still does it, but he no longer smells like it. I don't know if he changes his clothes before he comes or what. But, so we're, the boundary part, we're just trying to see, okay, when he was younger, we could say, no, you can't do this.
Well,
but now that he's...
Yeah, but Joy, I just want to jump in. He's living in your house, and there are conditions to living in the house. And you can come up with what are those conditions. You could, come up with, we live in a drug-free environment. We live in an environment where we address our issues and go to therapy. So we'd love to offer you free rent, but there's a cost for everything. And so, and by the way, you and your husband have to live in your house. We're going to give you some steps for some next tangible steps to navigate this tough situation with your grandson. We'll be right back.
New Life Ministries saved my completely broken marriage.
No matter how much hurt you've had to face, no marriage is beyond hope. At New Life Ministries Intimacy and Marriage Weekend, licensed counselors will help you rebuild communication skills and renew your commitment to each other.
You're building authentic intimacy. and you're learning how to connect on an emotional and relational level. You're learning how to listen. You're learning how to identify those core patterns that get in the way of good relationship.
The Intimacy and Marriage Weekend is October 25th through the 27th in Dallas, Texas. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50. 1-800-639-5433.
3.5 years later, we're still going strong. I would encourage anybody who's struggling in their marriage to go. They are more effective than anything else we tried.
Club New Life changes lives.
I think I go way back to listening to New Life, learning so much from it, and then becoming a Club New Life member.
Club New Life is a monthly giving family that helps New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people.
You know, I'm so thankful because you know why I keep giving? Because I keep learning, and I'm so thankful for all the lives that you touch every day and the people's lives. So when I get to still hear the radio show, it's just so encouraging to my heart.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
And you know one reason I give? Because I feel like sometimes I'm hiding behind a counselor's couch, listening to all this great information and not paying, so my guilt of this great advice is alleviated by being a Club New Life member.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. And together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. We're so glad that you're with us. We've been talking with Joy and her 19-year-old grandson who is living with her, who is struggling with just kind of a shutdown mode, to be honest, you know, escaping his life into video games, into pot smoking, into sleeping, a lot of avoidant behavior. Alice, I think you were saying something really important that Becky was pointing out at the break, and that is he's carrying a lot of pain and trauma inside of him.
He is, and he needs both the adequate help to wean off of the substances he's using to cope, including screen, but he also needs new standards so that you, Joy, and your husband can keep your home safe and give him a choice of whether or not he wants to live by your standards. Your home is not the only place for him, but hopefully he will choose to receive the help to be able to live up to the standards in the household. So I'd suggest starting off with family therapy, just you and your husband going to a counselor to get some real detailed strategy about how to best go about this. But it will probably look like, grandson, we know that our family system as a whole has failed you. Your parents, they set this up to leave you with a whole lot of pain, and they're not here helping you with it. And we haven't known what to do to help you best with both the struggles that you're going through, but what happened with your parents. So we want to do a restart, and we want to keep you in our house, but we need a plan to wean down on the video games and to wean off of pot. And so we will expect that you will be attending treatment together with us, because we've got to learn how to do this differently too. And by getting you that help, we're going to learn how together to reset our expectations. And I think, Joy, that with that counselor's help, you can both expect that you can drug test him, and he shouldn't be using substances at all in your home. Eventually, I'd put out a plan of getting him help for a couple of months to get to the point where he can leave the pot because he has enough tools to handle the dysregulation inside of him. You can set screen limits in your home of the reasonable amount of time that he can have digital entertainment. And you can set an expectation that he'll accept some of those good invitations from your husband so that he can build relationship with his grandfather. And then you let him decide whether or not he'll accept those standards and get the help to live up to them or not. But that's much easier said than done, because when we set boundaries, there is the risk that he will reject your boundaries and decide, fine, I don't want to live with you. This is too hard. This is not what I want. And we do have to decide whether or not we're willing to let a grandson reject those boundaries. But what you'd be doing for him is getting him off onto a healthier path to be able to deal with life.
Well, and where Joy and her husband need the support is most likely when they set the boundaries, he will say, you're rejecting me just like every other person who said they would love me but doesn't.
Yes.
You know, that's
definitely
it's funny,
in the playbook.
Though,
if Joy, you had called, your original thought was, we want to connect with him. He's isolating. And so to your point that you just made, Chris, he's got a narrative in his head that adults aren't safe. And you two may have been the safest adults that he's had in his life. And he's now an adult and navigating all of those stories, the experiences, the trauma that he's had. Now, this isn't an out for him, but I just think about, what would you expect him to do? He's not going to be fully, relational when he hasn't had good relationships. And so we want to plant that, like you were talking about, Alice. We want to get that started in the right direction. Whether he accepts it, that's a whole other thing.
And I think I love that idea. Let's get into a family therapist who understands trauma and addiction and helps you all navigate this together so that your grandson and you guys get the support that you need. Because obviously we all want him to launch really well, but he has things in his life right now that are holding him down. And it's frustrating that when people do not want to look at their own or work on their own issues. So we're going to send you a copy. We're going to actually send you 2 resources. We're going to send you Understanding and Loving Your Child in a Screen-Saturated World, and we're going to send you a copy of the Life Recovery Bible. And hopefully that will be a resource for you guys and for him as you navigate this forward. Alice, you're going to say one more thing?
Thank you. I do want to clarify something. The consequence doesn't have to immediately be you choose to live here or not. We can ramp it up by starting with, if you choose not to abide by our standards, then we're going to be limiting some of the privileges you have in our home, like internet access, like money, like the car, whatever privileges he has. Don't start off with accept or move out. Start slow and start with humility about the family's part in this, and that will help him to accept the rest.
Yeah,
I love that you made that clarity because, Alice, I'm thinking about this grandson, and Joy, he may feel very uncomfortable with intimate relationships.
Yes,
and so, think about that. Is like, how am I fully seen and fully heard? Well, that makes me feel uncomfortable. So I'm going to go, veg out in front of a game for hours at a time because that's where my comfort zone is. But it's a bigger story than just one thing or the other. So I love that clarity.
Recovery has been so heavy on our hearts and minds. And I'll tell you, that was my experience. My experience it's different than Joy's grandson, but I didn't know how to do intimate, close relationship. And the best thing that happened was my addiction because it showed me where to find it. And it was in the rooms of recovery where I learned to see and say the most honest version of myself. The things I would not want to tell anyone else, I was actually revealing and getting the connection and care and ultimately progress for recovery that I needed. So the joke I have with some people, which is not sometimes a joke, is we should all become addicts so we can discover the rooms of recovery. But you don't have to be, because we have our life recovery groups. It has its own website I want you all to check out. LifeRecoveryGroups.com. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
LifeRecoveryGroups.com.
Chris, we all are addicts.
Yes.
At the base, we're sin addicts. I say I'm not going to do it again. I say I'm going to do better this time. But then yet again, I go sinning. And my sin might not be drugs or alcohol or screen use, but it is some form of a sin pattern that I go to.
Yeah. Dr. Gerald May wrote a book way back in the 80s. I'm skipping the name of it right now. But it really was a great, great descriptor of the fact that, it's called Addiction and Grace. That Addiction and Grace showed us, really tangibly and neurologically and spiritually, how we all have an addictive tendency and propensity in our lives. So we're going to stay in the state of Pennsylvania. We're going to hang out there a little bit, but we're going to do some traveling over to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and we're going to talk with Dan. Dan, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. What's going on in your life?
I recently disclosed to my wife that I was into pornography and had multiple affairs back in the early 2000s, late 1990s. We've been working through this. I went to an intensive in Washington at Everyman's Battle. I'm in the process of trying to do a disclosure, and my wife wants more detail. And I'm having trouble coming up with detail because a lot of this stuff happened a long time ago. I'm talking about the stuff that happened 1998 to 2005.
Yes.
She also wants to do a polygraph. And,
Uh-huh.
and I'm very nervous and anxious because I don't know details, and I'm afraid my lack of memory and my detail is going to affect the polygraph, and I'm not looking forward to this, and I'm very anxious about it.
Yes, that
So
makes perfect sense.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do about. I'm trying to be transparent and honest about everything and everything I remember, but I don't remember certain details, and she wants details.
Yes. Yeah.
Dan, we are so proud of you. Thank you for being the kind of man that was willing to confess and then get help and figure out how to repair this. We need men like you, and I admire what you're trying to do, and we can help you with your question. Have you done the disclosure in a therapist-led situation, a therapeutic disclosure?
No. I'm going to see a therapist. I'm going to start seeing a therapist. I have an appointment tomorrow. I have written it out like bullet points, like to try to do a timeline. But it's just there's no detail, especially for the affairs back in
Dan,
25 years ago.
Is the therapist that you're seeing, are they specialized in both sexual addiction and betrayal trauma?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because
they? Well, yeah, because that's what I was going for too. Because Dan, there's no hurry on this, even though you're feeling the pressure. And we'll talk about it after the break. But a therapeutic disclosure has specific parameters, and it's not just for you to remember the details. It's also to support your wife as she hears them. There is a process that goes into this, and it's very important, not just because of the anxiety that you're feeling. Like Ella said, thank God that you are ready to do something about this. We're celebrating that, but the healing process is very important. So we'll talk about it after the break. Go ahead, Chris.
Absolutely. But to that point, disclosures are potentially very traumatic events for both partners. And that's why we need highly, highly trained and skilled professionals who are trained in this area to be able to guide through that. And Dan, we're going to keep encouraging you right after this.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 Steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. So glad that you're with us. Dan, so glad that you're with us today, and I am so grateful to hear that, to echo what Alice was telling you, that you attended Every Man's Battle, and you're not just leaving the experience in the intensive in Washington, D.C., but you are taking it with you, and you are taking these next steps. And so that I just can't commend enough. And Becky, you were talking about something at the break as far as the timing and the process goes.
Oh, yeah, Dan, I just, as much as you want to get this going because you want to prove to your wife you are on a healing journey, it takes time. It's going to take more time than you think. But we want her to feel safe. We want her to be able to have the right support, but also even if you have to do a lie detector, if you have a qualified, certified sex addiction therapist or a partner trauma trained therapist that's helping you, it's going to be better than you think it's going to be.
Yes.
And I think that's the hope I would give you, but it's literally a process that will take some time, and not to hurry through it, and to have the support that you need. You both need the support as you go through this. Because
she's going to need support in understanding what she actually needs to know.
Right.
And so the tension that I hear inside of you, Dan, is I have to get it absolutely right. Mm-hmm. And that's Yes, that's understandable. But right now, you just have to be trustworthy. Getting it right is going to take time. Engaging in your recovery is the best thing that you can do for your wife right now. Now, she may not see it immediately like that. She may see I need to know everything. It has to be in detail. There has to be no stone unturned. And that's her anxiety, reasonably, that's coming up. Right. But ultimately, right now, you both need to be guided well into understanding the disclosure process, how it works. And the polygraph can bring up a lot of anxiety. But again, really, really good trained therapist and polygraph administrators do this in a way that account for the things that you may not remember, accounts for the anxiety, accounts for that. They walk you through this process really well.
Does she have a therapist, Dan?
Okay. Yes.
And is that also...
She's been seeing a therapist.
Okay. Is it a partner betrayal trauma trained therapist, or?
She's faith-based, but I don't think she's trained in that now.
Okay, well, what we might do, not that we're against the therapist that she has, but I want her to have the very best in trauma support, because it's important for your process going forward. We just know more now.
And when the partners, when both the husband and wife and both people are guided in the same process when it comes to disclosure, it is so much more beneficial. Because if those lines are not aligned, if they're not parallel, then it's really set up for some trouble down the road.
So some of the principles, Dan, that the therapist will help you with are letting her know she has a right to ask any question she wants, but then her questions should be submitted to the therapists and to God so that you all can prayerfully consider what is helpful for her to know, what is too hurtful, and what will actually impair her recovery process if she knows. For instance, too many details and comparison details are not helpful, even though the victim spouse usually wants to know, compared to me, well, what were these people like? But most of that is not helpful for her. But you're not the one to decide that. The therapists are the one to help safeguard which questions should be answered and how. And the fact that you don't remember, it's pretty understandable. There's actually an inebriation factor in sex addiction. And similarly to blackouts with alcohol use, there are parts to it that you do not recall. You cannot physically remember. But of course, it's difficult for the victim spouse to believe that because there are all these signs that you're not trustworthy. So an I don't remember seems like you're hiding something. And so learning about that process of these things, some of them which were not committed to memory in in the inebriated state of sex addiction.
Yeah, because the compartmentalization oftentimes does come with dissociation.
Absolutely.
And with that dissociation, the facts do become very, very, sometimes inaccessible, but other times is very foggy, and the timeline itself gets very murky. And to your point, Becky, it's something I discovered in my recovery, is that more illumination led to more illumination. More clarity led to more clarity, and it was a long process. It took quite a bit of time with a lot of guidance and a lot of recovery. And Dan, I just cannot encourage you enough that the most important thing that you can do right now as you're engaging in a disclosure process is to stay intimately connected to your recovery, because it's going to be two things. The first and foremost thing is it's going to help you lead into greater sobriety and healthiness. It's going to provide you a support network as you go through this process. And as you're going to take a lot of hits. And so you're going to need a lot of people behind you that help you take those hits.
And Dan, if you haven't joined a Sustained Victory group, that would be an excellent next step in this process, because you're going to need your band of brothers around you.
Absolutely.
Dan, keep the humble stance with your wife. Don't trust my words. Watch my actions and wait to trust me until you see enough in my actions and you hear enough feedback from my sponsor or from my therapist, so that by my actions and by outside feedback, you decide whether or not I become trustworthy.
Yeah.
And it would be great if she could come to Restore in November.
I hope
that's a little off.
I also hope you'll have her listen to our answers. Have her listen to the recording of the show, so that this information is coming from us rather than from you directly.
Great idea.
That's a fantastic idea. Dan, thank you so much for calling in today. And we're going to send you a copy of the Life Recovery Bible. And we're going to send you a copy of Worthy of Her Trust. And Worthy of Her Trust, I think, is such a phenomenal guide in this process. What a great reminder. Guys, if you are struggling with sexual integrity, sexually acting out, every man's battle is for you. And whether you're married or whether you're single or whatever your situation may be, there is this road that is always progressive. I call it the road of I would nevers. I would never look at pornography. I would never look at it in a public setting. I would never call a person. I would never interact with a person. I would never go to one of those massage parlors. And I'm telling you, every time I would never was crossed, there's only one more waiting for us on the other side that we will cross. Let's end the I would nevers and get into the recovery that we need. November 1st, Orange County, Every Man's Battle Intensive. And listen, Orange County is a great place to do this, especially in November. And that first week in November could allow you to end 2024 in a really, really new place, to begin 2025 in a much better place and begin that healing and healthy recovery. Oftentimes what's not talked about as much is that we talk about the restoration of a relationship, a marriage, through trustworthiness. But the trust that is broken primarily in the addict, especially the sex addict, is the trust with the self. That's a torturous place to be. To regain trust with yourself and God in the world is true freedom. It's true strength. So I can't encourage you guys enough to check out Every Man's Battle. Again, there is Restored out there for the betrayed wife. And so please check those out. Becky, Alice, thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you all for listening today and being part of our program. And until next time, be well.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Thanks for watching today. We love helping people. I hope you sense that. And we know that there's always hope if you find the right resource. Now, if something we've said to somebody else applies to you, that's fantastic. That's what we're hoping for. But also, if you want to join us directly, you can call 1-800-229-3000 between 1 and 3 Eastern Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Those are the best times to get through. And while you're here on YouTube, check out these other videos that we've done to help people see where they could grow or a different path to take. And if you do that, would you give us a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to this channel. There are many ways that we can help you outside of the radio program, and it's very hard for some to pick up a phone and dial 1-800-NEW-LIFE. But when you do, we put you in touch with somebody who cares about you, knows all the resources out there, and they're going to find the best for you. There is no reason to struggle alone. I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you'll invite somebody else to come and join that maybe needs just a little bit of help along the way. I'll see you next time.